Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Midnight's Edge in the morning on this Monday, May 19th. There's no applause because Tom isn't here with the soundboard, but we have the rest of the panel here, so I think we should be good anyway. Plus, we got all of you guys watching out there on the interwebs, which is most appreciated. Please smash that like and let everyone know that we are live. Joining me today is Polly of the Latino Slant and Midnight's Edge Espanol fame. ¿Qué tal?
Hey, aquí estamos. I hope the coffee's strong. I'm gonna need it.
Oh, yeah, indeed. Also joining us is Cultured Casino. Since it's Monday, that means box office.
Oh, that's right. Good morning, everybody, and a good box office to no one this weekend, but we'll get into that in a minute.
Indeed. Helping us getting into that is Mr. Chris Brawley of Bleeding Fool fame.
Good morning, everybody. And I'll be sipping that coffee right along with Polly. So we're going to have a good show today.
Indeed. And last but not the least, we have Scribe Light joining us. How's it going, my friend?
Goes pretty good. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday, and hope everybody's having a good week so far, even though it's early.
Indeed. And with that, let's get straight to it. We have a couple of super chats to get us started with before we get into the main topics. Packing Proton says for $5, are there any rumors about Discovery separating from Warner Brothers, or did I misunderstand a video I saw? Now, I don't know exactly which video that you saw, but my understanding is that Discovery always acquired Warner as something of a fix-em-upper. And that is why you have like AT&T, the previous owners of Warner, they still retain a 10% share because they saw that Discovery and David Zaslav were in a better position to fix Warner than they were. So that's why they agreed to this whole thing, give it to David Zaslav, let him fix it, clean it up in a way that they couldn't, and then offhand it at some other point because there's proud tradition for studios to being offhanded from one corporate entity to another and reap some nice profit in the end. So I haven't heard anything concrete about any sale being imminent, but my hunch would be that it's just a matter of time until Warner changes ownership from Discovery to someone else. Or what say you, Culture? This is your forte, isn't it?
Yeah, I've been hearing this for a while about Warner Brothers Discovery and a split up, or at least a parsing out of various things. And I know that they had been interested in getting out from underneath CNN for a while, and so much so that they're creating their own fast channel with CNN, kind of what they did right when Zaslav was coming in to try to sabotage him and hang him with a terrible structure for CNN. But they decided to go back to that same structure. So that would indicate to me they're probably trying to get rid of CNN and maybe a few other things. Whether or not they split out completely from Warner Brothers, it's hard to say. But look, I mean, it cannot be argued that a lot of these networks, these entities, these cable channels, these also run kind of organizations that are part of Warner Brothers is dragging them down. Since we're going to slowly over time start to lose linear channels, I would expect them to try to get rid of many things. I mean, honestly, without basketball and a few other things for TNT and TBS, there's not a lot of reason for some of these networks or these cable channels to exist any longer. So when you start hearing rumors about, somebody else strolling in trying to, like grab all the little bits and pieces off of them, that might be more indication that we may see a separation again from the two entities. But the time from the Reverse Morris Trust has expired, which means they can take another action, whether it be to merge with something else or sell something or whatever. That's totally fine now. We're well beyond that.
Yeah. Anyone else have any feelings on this?
Well, it was reported in the Hollywood Reporter earlier this month that it's on the table and it's being considered, although nobody at Warner Brothers is actually confirming that. It's just some economists and insiders that are talking about the fact. And then when that news about, and you did a video on this the other day, Andre, that was very good on the rebranding again of HBO Max.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things shifting right now. So who knows? Who knows?
Tom deserves all the credit for that video because that's really his forte. That kind of like branding and the streaming and everything that's related to distribution there. But yeah, that's some branding confusion right there when they ditched the most famous brand. That actually was Discovery's fault. So they
right, agreed. This was first reported on CNBC that there might be a potential split, and then in the Financial Times. So there's some chatter going on, but I don't know much more than that. And get well soon, Tom. Get well soon, brother.
Yeah. Anyone else have any strong feelings on that? I take that as a no, and then we move on. Dr. Longdong has been a member for 42 months, and we are glad to have you. Soon there's going to be another membership stream, plus a 10-year anniversary celebration stream, which is also imminent. More information about that. Dark King has a comment relating to the main topic today, which we'll get into before we get to the box office here. Dark King says for $2 Pedro Pascal to star in remake of 1982 film Gandhi. Yeah, why not? Considering that he is in pretty much anything these days. I mean, if there ever was an actor who's slightly overexposed, it's Pedro Pascal. And he was in the Cannes Festival this weekend. And he was promoting not Fantastic Four, he's promoting another movie altogether, an A24 movie. But even so, he made some comments that many found to be a little bit incendiary. More specifically, he was talking about the current situation in Hollywood right now. At least that's what many interpreted him to be talking about. There may be a little bit more to it. I'll find the quote here, and then I want to hear what you guys think about it. Just give me 1 second, since I do not have Tom to pilot behind the scenes. It just takes me a few more seconds to screw things up. Here we go. Pedro Pascal tells Cannes to fight back against U.S. political chaos. Now, that's a little bit of a misleading title, if you ask me. But his quote was, "Fear is the way they win. So keep telling stories, keep expressing yourself, and keep fighting to be who you are. Fuck the people that try to make you scared and fight back. This is the perfect way to do so, in telling stories, and don't let them win." So, Scribe, let's begin with you. Do you think that these comments are going to make people massively excited about seeing Pedro Pascal in Fantastic Four?
I think the Fantastic Four audience, or the potential audience, probably isn't paying that much attention to Cannes Film Festival, generally speaking. But this notion that the government is trying to force you out or not allow you to speak or something, it's this weird, convoluted, backwards thinking of, oh my gosh, the laws that have been on the books since the 60s are now almost kind of being enforced, or pressures being pushed upon companies that have been going off on this stuff for years now to have to reverse their course without, the risk of being sued into oblivion, and that's somehow oppressing speech. So I think this is all just one big dodge of, again, having to put off the responsibility of the failure of Hollywood over the last several years onto some big oppressive outside force rather than just the mediocrity of the product that they're putting out. And Pedro is towing the party line and trying to rile up his true believers. I think Pedro's, I think he's sincere. I think he believes that he's a warrior in a great fight, but he's just running cover for a failed industry.
Yeah. Paulie, are these comments indicative of what many feel in Hollywood, or is he speaking a little bit too much here?
Well, let's backtrack, right? Because he did hijack that question. That's the one question that wasn't directed towards him. So when one of these other co-stars of Eddington finished, he jumped right in. What they asked him earlier before was about the immigrant situation. But so I thought that was interesting, is that he had to get his 2 cents in there, no matter what. It wasn't directed to him. He just had to. Yes and no. Yes and no. As far as does it represent the people in Hollywood? Yes and no. I think there's those that you're seeing in the spotlight. They're going to keep on, doing their thing, and then there's just a lot of people that who voted for the person that's in power right now. That's the current administration, because they want things changed. I mean, there's a lot. I almost said there's a lot of us.
Also, you don't speak out of turn. You still have to go back there.
There's a lot of us that are feeling a little more emboldened to have conversations, to speak to other people, that I'm just hanging out with several people, manager, an actor. We're all, you think that we were a panel on Midnight's Edge, and this was here, so there's so much to this, because if I was to take away what the script that he said, right, like take it out of context, forget it. That's the ultimate, we're talking about the French here, the ultimate bourgeois situation. Pedro, talk to me about the brown Latins that American no longer wants. Is closed off. Tell me how you feel. I mean, that's such a bullshit question, right? It's just such a setup. He even said, I'm not really, I don't have all the information. I just want everyone to be safe. He's just like, he should have just stopped there, right? But they can't help themselves, because this is the ultimate, bougie, lefty, comfy feelings, and everyone's blowing hot air up everyone's asses and doing standing ovations for several minutes, despite how mediocre or good the work is. So, there's Tom. Hey, Tom.
Hey, Tom. So,
Hello.
Hello. So, taking that out of context, right? Like, culture, what he said, I'm like, okay, you're talking about Gina Carano fighting back a few years ago? Or who are you talking about, brother? Because this, another hijack, if you guys are noticing, is that the Wokosos are hijacking everything y'all have been fighting for the last few years. Now it's their rhetoric. Now it's their fight. Now they're the ones being oppressed. Give me a fucking break.
Yeah, that's what I notice here, because I see that he made some statements, but in and of themselves, they're not too bad. No. But he's being taken a little bit out of the context. And what I see here is that it's actually, it's the news organization that's pumping this all over the world that is adding meaning to this, saying to fight back against U.S. political chaos. He didn't actually say that.
Nope. But listen,
that's being attributed to him.
It's all a setup, like they're oozing over these answers. They get people going, where you're having all these clowns, talented or not just Pedro, talking about Trump, talking about the current administration. It's like, you know what? Just talk about your movies, man. But they're not asking those questions, Tom. They're French. This is we're going to fight the power with Trump, no? This Trump is evil. And it's they set it up on a T, and that's and we're not even talking about people who don't even like Pedro already, who think he's oversaturated already. Then you have this. There's no chance in hell that any of that fan base is going to go see any of his films, much less this small A24 film.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, that's like the thing. When you promote the small movie, the audience for the big movie, they still hear you. And if they don't hear you, they hear everyone else is going to pick up what you say, such as ourselves, among others. But anyone else have any strong feelings on Pedro Pascal here? Tom, for instance, who just joined us.
I don't even know what all this Pedro business is about. All I know is that Sadie don't give a shit when people don't feel good. She's still got to go out.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, well, that's doggies being doggies.
I think Pedro almost can't help himself. I mean, as Paulie knows, I mean, he's trying to keep his little streak of things going. Not that he seems to have to try very hard, because he seems to be the only one that Hollywood's casting right now. And whether or not you have Pedro fatigue, or political fatigue, or whatever it is, this type of rhetoric, as Paulie pointed out, they're kind of trying to co-opt and run with. That they're still the victims in all of this. That they're the ones that are being persecuted. And as Paulie brought up, Gina is going to be the person everybody's going to turn to look at, to say this is absolutely ridiculous. And again, this is something I think I talked about on Saturday a little bit, in as much as I really don't care what Pedro has to say, and Can is starting to become even more and more irrelevant. And we're trying to make too much out of polite applause that really is more about not embarrassing the people who put the film together in the first place. And
someone that might have, sorry, carry on.
No. I was just going to say, and to be frank, I mean, Pedro doesn't really need a lot of help to embarrass himself. So yeah.
Did you say Frank?
Frank.
So, someone that might have some thoughts on this is our good friend Mike.
Hey!
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. How's it going?
I warned Tom that if he showed up for this show, I would show up to berate him because he's not taking care of his health and he should be in bed.
That's all I got to do to get you to show up.
Uh-oh.
I'm officially Tom Connors' self-appointed health advisement director.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I actually gave him the day off today.
Wait a minute. You actually
have the day off when there's toxic femininity and all this other stuff.
No, but really, like, Tom, like, at least take the morning off, right? Take the half the day off so you can rest and do talks tonight.
I'll send you naked pictures of me.
No.
Oh, thank goodness.
Oh, whoops. I was supposed to mute for that. I
think those are already on the internet.
Yeah, but no one's paying for them. All right, real quick, Pedro Pascal, so we can move on to the box office. I'm mostly here because I'm excited to talk about the CBS news. Yeah. But Pedro Pascal. Am I allowed to curse on the show?
Yeah, you are now. Yeah.
Pedro Pascal is a beta ass bitch, and I can't stand him. He's overexposed, and he's a little cuck. And if he has so much bravery, then why doesn't he fight back against Hollywood and let us know what we already know, that he's gay? Because he's a closeted ass homo. But, so he's like, you guys need to stand up. You guys go. F this guy. F his career. I'm not even, you know what? I'm supposed to watch Fantastic Four probably for this channel and Doomcock and other channels. Yeah. I'm not even going to watch that crap. And Fantastic
Mike,
Four.
I think we have to say allegedly to that so we don't get sued.
Okay, allegedly, I'm saying that he is allegedly gay. What he is not allegedly is he is unallegedly a beta ass bitch that is overexposed and I'm sick of seeing. Can I say that?
Yeah, that's perfect. That's a-okay. Now we're
and to that allegation, I think as long as his parents are alive, that allegation is going to stay there as an allegation.
Yeah, because of machismo.
Well, and
Paulie,
I'm just going to leave it at that.
You're compromised.
I'm a little too close to that.
Don't say anything. I'm trying to say the things that need to be said here. Everybody knows that Paulie's the one who's loved, and I'm the one that's feared.
No. What are you talking about? Listen, I'm just saying, like, as far as him being, as far as this bullhorn of what he's saying, his crowd loves it. Cons loves it. I mean, if he was to go on, first of all, he'd never go on Fox or, like a Joe Rogan type of thing, and then talk like this. That'd be one thing. That'd be kind of interesting. Then you have a conversation. But, this is just fodder, guys. This is almost like not even news, because it's so powerful.
It is beta ass bitch performative theater.
But it's interesting, Mike, because why did they ask him the immigration question? Well, why don't you ask Joaquin Phoenix next to him? What the fuck? So again, that's so typical of
Hollywood,
of how they view everything.
You know what the right answer should have been? He should have said, I'm going to be like Tom Cruise, and I want to talk about the movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Heaven forfend.
Yeah,
I
they,
mean,
they
absolutely.
want Pedro to say something that they can put in the paper and possibly the headline
Yeah, like
and
they
get the
did here.
clicks. And he's reliable. He's reliable.
Yeah, he's a very good clickbait provider.
I'm still trying to figure out why Joaquin Phoenix, who was waving or something, and then
Joaquin.
Pedro made him put his
Joaquin.
hand down or something. What was that
Joaquin.
about?
Because he can't be hailing Hitler.
Okay. Okay, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
We need
what
a
they're
little
running
reader
with
on that
as far
they're all a
as
bit
why he did
hypersensitive
that.
about that after Elon Musk. Like it was all good before, but after that they have to be more careful.
I see. Okay.
That would be my speculation.
Well, I don't know that this is going to hurt the Marvel, the Fantastic Four movie. I hear the Eddington
It
movie.
just
that
did.
they
I
have-
just told you that this last comment has told me I'm not going to buy a ticket, and that means me, and anyone that knows me is going to go see this movie. So it just did. I'm telling you.
So
it just did.
you were still going as
Heck
of
yeah, I
last
was still
Friday?
going. Fantastic Four is my favorite property of Marvel of all
Mine
time.
Mine too. But I've already decided I'm waiting till it streams.
I'm not even going to see it when it streams. This guy can kiss my
Well-
ass. He's not even getting my views.
Well, still,
Okay.
Chris, to Mike's point, that's one person less than it did affect the box office. Maybe not tremendously, but at least
They
one
need all the
person.
box office they can get on this one. I agree.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that they most definitely do. And we
Yeah.
will have more information coming about that very soon. But we need to move on here. Any final thoughts on this topic before we move on?
Yeah, if you guys a little more in depth, I'm going to talk about this and on my live right after Midnight's Edge. But I want to talk about why certain celebrities is acceptable as to others that are not, and they lose work over saying the same thing. So I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, indeed. And we got a couple of super chats pertaining to this very topic as well. Flying Blind on a Rocket Cycle says for $5. This just in, Pedro Pascal will be doing all my super chats from now on. I just found out myself. Oh, there you go.
That's funny.
And now when I'm done sneezing, let's carry on here.
Salute.
Dark King says for $2, does Pedro Pascal's talent justify his exposure? Now that's a great question for Paulie right there. Is he talented enough to?
Right, and this is coming from I know this for a fact, guys. For a fact, on this panel, I am the biggest Pedro fan of this panel. That being said, hell no, this doesn't justify. I mean, this is bonkers, man. Go away. Ya cállate. Let the work speak for itself. But hey, Pedro's gonna do what Pedro's gonna do. No, it doesn't justify, man. Guy's overexposed, overused, and some would say not that talented. I disagree, but you know what? I respect that. That being said, you're overexposed, man. There's something to be said about an Al Pacino or pick your epic actor where they see themselves. It's like, yeah, you know what? I'm sick and tired of seeing myself. I'm gonna go away. You don't see or hear from them for a year, Chris. You know what I mean? And then you're excited again. It's like, well, I can't even get excited for the roles that you're doing because you're everywhere. Shut up. Go away. You think that this guy, because he's seeing everything he's in, that's one thing he's got no control over. His production calendar, shit coming out, all you get TV, got this, got that. It's like, man, I'm in everything. I want people to really recognize my work. I'm gonna go away.
Well, and he's getting good roles. I mean, if your agent says, "Hey, do you want to be in the next Ari Aster movie?" Yeah, of course I do. Do you want to be in the lead of the Fantastic Four movie? Sure. You want to be in Last of Us? Of course you do, right? Gladiator, the new Ridley Scott sequel. You want to do that?
Oh, and then there's a slew of indie movies that he's in, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Freaky Tales, Eddington, this horror film I hear he's coming out. I mean, Hollywood, there are other really
I was just gonna
notable
say,
Latino actors.
How many other people is he taking roles from, right? Like, that's the other thing.
Yeah, it feels like a conspiracy. He's so overexposed. I don't understand it.
Well, it's like Hollywood only has one Hispanic actor at a time, and they can't find another one. It's weird.
Where's George Lopez? He needs work. His show just got canceled.
I mean, it's just like that dwarf actor, the one who robbed everyone from the one from Game of Thrones, who robbed all the dwarfs out of a job in Disney and stuff.
Peter
That's
Dinklage.
what I was getting at.
Dinklage, yeah, exactly.
Listen,
Same
you
stuff
really
again.
want to piss off
And
Mikey.
Pedro was in Game of Thrones. Come on.
Yeah, you really want to piss off Mikey, you'll bring up George Lopez.
We don't want to do that. We want to move on. I'm
No.
just going to do a
Okay.
couple of more on Pedro. Then we got the box office here. Thunderstorm says for $9.99. Thank you so much. From Welsh Shakespearean actor / model Ian Grufford to Pedro. It's a downgrade. And Jason Webster says for $5 Australian dollars, befitting for Pedro Pascal to be in everything, everywhere, all at once too. So he is pretty showing up everywhere and in everything. Yeah,
that would be perfect. Meta, very meta.
Not wrong about
Pretty funny.
that.
That's
And with that, it's Monday. That means we have some box office to go through. So, Culture, how was box office this weekend?
You know, it was disappointing. Again, barely crossing $100 million. This is the thing that worries me the most as a lover of film. And I know it bothers probably everybody that's in our sphere, especially Paulie, all the people over at Film Threat, Verbal Riot. The fact that we only made $104 million in total at the box office this weekend. These are the low numbers from January, February, March that we really can't have continue. Really, there are only 2 or 3 films again that are responsible for putting the bulk of the money in the pockets of the exhibitors. You have the Final Destination Bloodlines movie, which opened with a bang in 3,500 theaters. This is a rated R horror movie, the last of Tony Todd's career. It is earning a per theater average of $14,000, which is what it should be earning. It's what anything that is significant should be earning or more per theater average, but $51 million domestically and an additional $51 million internationally, which means grand total of 102 global, which is a very, very impressive number. It accounted for essentially half of all the earnings for the global box office right now. So all reports and reviews from the film, I didn't get a chance to see it this weekend, but they've all been, positive, on the positive side of mixed, which is good. And 3,500 theaters is nothing to scratch at. Now, falling down to second place as expected is the catastrophic, whatever word you want to say, failure flop of Thunderbolts, coming in with only 18 and is it 18 or 16? I can't even
16.
read.
16
Yeah, 16 and a half is terrible, and it's still in nearly 4,000 theaters. Per theater average of $4,000, which is still pretty decent. It crossed the $300 million threshold, but I don't think it's going to do much more globally. So at 155 domestic, this is going to fall under that $400 million threshold, most likely, and still finish behind Brave New Toilet Brush. And I'm going to tell you pretty much everything is coming out excrement for the MCU. We already are talking about Pedro's performance in the forthcoming Fantastic Four First Steps. I think it's going to be the final steps because I don't think anybody wants this. And after another verifiable reshoot situation for this film very recently, they don't even know how this is going to end yet. So I have a feeling the MCU will continue to spiral downward, just like the dislike ratio for the Ironheart series that's coming out here shortly. Following up there is the very overperforming Sinners, hanging in there at third place, falling down 31%, carrying $240 million domestic, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. It crossed 300 million globally. So congratulations there. And hanging on for dear life, Minecraft in fourth place, earning another $5.9 million, and just hanging on to 3,300 theaters, which, again, it wouldn't be doing if there were more on offer. But at $416 million domestic, I think we are coming close to $1 billion, but I think we'll still fall short. And in fifth place, the film that won't go away and that I really wish did better, Amazon MGM Studios' The Accountant 2 at $4.9 million for a total of domestic $59 million, almost $60 million at this point, and on its way to a third film, even though it's really not performed in the most profit-oriented way to date. Hurry Up Tomorrow, complete flop from the weekend. Lionsgate, $3.3 million, not doing well. I have a feeling that the bomb factory that is Lionsgate is fully back in business. And Friendship, an A24 film, made $1.4 million in 80 theaters. In total, it's made $2 million. It's not looking great performance-wise, but it's probably already sold to somebody. It seems like most of these A24 films already have predestinations. Clown in a Cornfield, hanging in there a little bit at $1.3 million for a grand total of $6 million. It didn't cost a lot of money, so we'll have to see if it can give it 2 more weekends in theaters. Maybe it'll get towards profitability. I doubt it. Until Dawn, just continuing to be ignored in the theaters. Grand total of 20 domestic to date. The Amateur, all these things I'm reading off and these numbers, I'm going to tell you right now, none of this gets any better. None of these are high performing films. None of them necessarily were high budgets, but nobody's going to see them. So by the time you get down to the bottom of the list with film 26, you end up with that total of 104. The only thing I think we can talk about, to be fair, is that as a whole, we're way too late in the year for $102 million to be good enough.
Indeed. And we're not going to spend much time on this particular topic because we have something else to discuss here.
Yes.
But I have 2 questions based on the box office here. Number 1, when do we get Final Destination Bloodlines 2? Because that movie appears to have done exactly what it was supposed to do, given its budget and the legacy of the franchise. I mean, I saw it. I thought it was fun. I mean, it wasn't the best Final Destination movie. Wasn't the second best. Well, it might be the second best.
Halloween 2027, I bet.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. How long do we get the sequel? Because we are getting a sequel, right? With this kind of box office.
Well,
with that performance? Yeah, for sure.
It's kind of in line with what Halloween 2018 did. Not nearly as much, but correct me if I'm wrong, Culture, this is also the biggest opening for the franchise.
It is, absolutely. Yeah, it did smash that record easily.
Yeah, I don't know what the biggest one was to this point, but if you guys remember when Halloween 2018 came out, that movie alone grossed more money than the entire franchise put together at that point. All of the films, including the Rob Zombie ones. So keep that in mind. So I'm curious how much bigger this is than that. But I mean, look, horror's back with a vengeance, baby. And as I've said, when things are going smoothly and people are starting to feel like a certain way, they're more apt to go see. What are the top horror movies or top movies? All horror movies, except for, I'm surprised Sinners made it to 3rd place. I thought that was going to take over the 2nd place again. I'm kind of surprised by that.
It really could have.
Yeah, but I guess the only other main thing to look at here is that you have a couple of these films in the top 5 or so that didn't cost all that much.
Well, you have to remember that
Sinners and Final Destination were all pretty well budgeted films and are going to end up being profitable at the end of the day, I believe. Yeah,
I mean, the biggest of the franchise was in 2009. It was The Final Destination. It made $27.4 million.
Oh shit!
So imagine the fact that this, this like hit a home run. It's
almost more in line than what I was saying. So
yeah. No, you were spot on, Tom, and your instincts are almost always correct. And I like it. I feel this is going to be quickly followed up. Forbes actually did an article on it. I hadn't had a chance to read, but I'm telling you, there will definitely be a Final Destination Bloodlines 2 on the way. So.
Yeah. And the final question on this topic, real quickly, and that pertains to Thunderbolt's currently new Avengers. Over or under the Eternals by the end of its run?
I'm going to go with under.
I'm going to go with under because I'm already predicting this thing's going to be on video on demand in 2 weeks.
Wow.
It needs to make what, another like $25 million in order to, because Eternals was 401 million globally, correct?
I think that's right.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's no window for Disney to re-release this and try to bump it.
Well,
in
no,
anyway.
wait. Snow White earned another $200,000 this weekend.
Oh well.
Man, isn't that just embarrassing? If you're Disney, it only earned 93. Now you had me excited, but it only earned 93,000.
Globally.
Oh, okay. All right. I was gonna say,
now look,
come on.
they got Lilo and Stitch this weekend, so that's gonna.
And that's
And
why I was
Mission
getting
Impossible.
at- yeah, because that's why I said there's no real window now for Disney
No.
to re-release it at all either. So yeah.
No.
No, I mean everything that's not Final Destination Bloodlines is going to find itself in the basement fast. So, I'm telling you right now, though, there will definitely be a follow up to this. The budget for Final Destination Bloodlines was $50 million, so it already is getting close to making money.
Tom Cruise should be a little worried, as should Paramount. And we're going to get to Paramount news here in just a moment, but via CBS.
Indeed.
But because right now I didn't even realize or think about. I mean, I knew Final Destination was going to do okay, but I didn't think it would do this good.
This is insane. It's a huge number.
What you're looking at now is exactly what I was saying before. Is Mission Impossible set up again to fail?
Yep.
Because you have
Windowing.
another movie that's going to steal its demographic, and you have 2 or 3 other movies that are more interesting in the theaters, and people have seen Mission Impossible.
Yeah,
1 million times. I don't care what you look. I'm not talking about the caliber of the film, but these movies are just like the Transformer and the Fast and the Furious movies at this point. All you got to do is just say a randomness about what the plot is about, and nobody can tell you which is because they're all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this one is apparently going to loosen some nuts from the previous movies, which means you actually need to remember the previous movies and tell them apart.
That's what I've been told too.
But we will be getting into that before long. But we have another topic to discuss here, as Tom pointed out, and that would be this. Wendy McMahon resigns as CEO of CBS News and Stations with the quote, "It's become clear that the company and I do not agree on the path forward." Now, Culture, you're an expert on this matter. Take it away. Why don't they agree on a path forward?
Well, because they are so politically compromised. The news agency is essentially filled with activists like Wendy McMahon herself, who have no interest in telling just the facts and information that people would rely on for actual news. Instead, they want to craft and shape narratives and manufacture cover-ups and many other things that they've been accused of, and it seems to be pretty obvious that that's happening. And all of this is coming to a head at this point in time is because right now Donald Trump's people are in mediation with the folks at Paramount, trying to make a decision about the path forward for the settlement that they're going to have to pay to Donald Trump for them deceptively editing a 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris and releasing multiple different versions of the same video clip, which is, a problem. The fact that they can change it in an editorial way to portray a particular candidate to be better than they actually were, which they did. So Trump obviously is insisting on a pound of flesh. This will be the second pound of flesh to hit the table, or to hit the floor in this case, because they're going to discard it. And they're going to move forward. I have a feeling that CBS may not have 60 Minutes, their news magazine program, continuing. I think that that'll be the last pound of flesh to get cut off. But if not, there's going to have to be further satisfaction on the Trump side of the equation so that the Skydance and Paramount merger can proceed forward. And again, they are ticking that clock away of the 90 days of the extension that they had to get this done. And I think we've ticked away at least 20 of those days since that clock started ticking. So this is going to have to be resolved soon.
Yeah, and there's a silver lining to this potentially, at least for the sake of maybe journalism, in that a lot of the CBS workforce is on the side of McMahon. They don't want the settlement. They don't want to bow to Trump. But of course, the company higher-ups know they have to do this in order to not only, dodge what could be a considerably large lawsuit that they're not going to win ultimately, but also, like Coulter said, to get the merger through, because the FCC is the ultimate arbiter of whether or not that's going to go through. And if they don't satisfy the Trump administration, Trump's not going to say to Carr at the FCC, yeah, sure, let it go through. So a lot of the personnel at CBS, I think that there may be a revolt, or at least a lot of people resigning in the near future if CBS continues. I'm not saying they shouldn't. They can go and quit if they want, and CBS needs to do what they do for their business.
Well, what I'm seeing here is very similar to what that just happened on 60 Minutes. It's like nobody is making this person leave. Just like with 60 Minutes, it's like it's not like Trump is coming in and approving your stories, even though they tried to frame this and make it look like these people are being, oppressed in some way because of Trump. That's what's bothering me, is they're trying to paint this in some way. It's like, no, you just up and decided you wanted to fucking leave because you had a hissy fit.
Well, yeah, no, you're right. I mean, Bill Owens left for the same reason, Tom. Yeah. So you're spot on. The real shame of it is this, and then I will be quiet for a minute so everybody else can, share their thoughts. But the real shame is CBS is the number one linear network in the United States. And it has been for, I don't even, over a decade. At this point, they attract the audience, the over 50 audience that actually still have a chance of buying things, although many of them are starting to die. But CBS rules the roost in television because they have programs for old people. Lots of procedurals and NCISs and CSIs and LMNOPs and things at Anatomy, although I think that's ABC. Regardless, they have a ton of those old people satisfying shows that have been around for decades as well. So it's a real shame that this deal is not already done, and the only thing holding it up is the activists and their particular brand of politics, and the fact that they will lose cultural control when this rolls over to Skydance. And it's the same reason Disney's misbehaving as well.
Well, if they'll just get Scott Pelley to quit 60 Minutes, it might be an improvement overall.
Well, and to me, it's like, here's my thing: we don't. They both Wendy and the what's his face from 60 Minutes, both claim that a lot of this had to do with the merger and appeasing Trump, but that's just them saying that. How do we know it's not really that just the entire news department and other things are trying not to be so left-leaning anymore?
Well, we don't know that. It makes sense.
Yeah. Like to me, this is a lot of overreacting by people who want to frame this in a certain point of view. Kind of like with the whole thing this weekend with the Brooklyn Bridge and how they're trying to make that Trump's fault some fucking how.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's like, I can't believe. Yes. Yeah. Like the world has become a family circus fucking comic at this point. Like, I swear, every goddamn thing they can come up with, and y'all know the comic I'm talking about where it says I sent the kid to the store for milk, and I don't understand why it took him so goddamn long to walk 2 blocks. And you look at the comic and it's like, because they went through all these different little stupid little fucking roundabout ways to get there. That's everybody right now when they try to figure out a way to blame every goddamn little thing on Trump. It's like we were right back where we were fucking 8 years ago again, right? It's like, what else can you guys come up with at this point? Are you going to blame the fact that fucking your nose is half stuffy on Trump too at this fucking point? Because that's what it feels like. They come up with every goddamn thing they can. Maybe it's just that CBS has finally realized, oh shit, we lost most of our core demographic and half the audience on top of it all. Because we've done nothing but go, Trump bad, 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 for fucking 8 years now. And I'm sorry, I just had to let this out because this is what I'm seeing here. Is I see zero fucking proof that any of this has to do with the merger at all. In fact, has Trump even talked about the merger once?
No.
Exactly my fucking point. It's not even on his fucking radar right now.
Well,
got
I think the
$100 million other
actuaries are
things to
just
worry
trying to
about.
get.
Sorry.
I think the actuaries are just trying to get it off the table for the merger. That's all. They're just in a hurry to say, just shut up, go away. We need this merger, and we need to get this potential $20 billion lawsuit off the books right away.
Right.
You know,
They're going to pay this out regardless. But go ahead. Sorry, Coach.
Yeah.
No, I gotta ask. No, and this question is to you as well, Tom. So consider this. The media is trying to say that this lawsuit is of no consequence and has no merit. Why are they working so diligently on this settlement then? Because, I mean, they haven't been able to get dismissed. Was that the only reason that's compelling them to just try to rush through some form of settlement with Trump so they can get this thing done? Because Skydance is not going to take this dead fish. You know, unless you know it's been properly cleaned and gutted. That's the only thing I can think. Can somebody else come up with another idea?
Is there a time horizon for when this deal has to get done? Settlement is
that 90-day extension that was issued, I want to say 2.5 weeks ago, to get this deal done was going to cover this period of arbitration. That's what they're doing right now. So they've trying to rush this arbitration with Trump's negotiation team. We've been told that would have been resolved by latest this last weekend. We're not hearing anything. And again, that's why I suggested during my introduction of this particular subject that this was another pound of flesh that had to fall. But but as Tom pointed out, and I think is something we should recognize, is that these people are leaving voluntarily, you know, or at least they're giving the impression that they are. That, you know, they'll be like, I cannot agree.
Oh, they're not giving that impression, but they have to say it, culture.
That's true.
That's the truth. The impression they're trying to give is Trump made me fucking leave. They made me leave because of Trump.
Yeah, because it's too bad resistance, like a dangerous resistance fighter. Yes, you're part of la resistance, and that's why you have to be taken out.
Why does everybody sound French?
The audience doesn't.
Yeah, I know. Paulie and Andre, everybody's going like all francophone here.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with
Well, that's because the French have a history of rioting.
So what value does CBS News have if its leaders keep dropping off and its workforce, let's say the workforce in some meaningful percentage is on the same ideological side with Wendy McMahon, and they're going to strike or protest or quit in reaction to the company settling with Donald Trump? What does that do to the merger? What does that do to CBS's future as being part of a Skydance future? I mean, the news division. Pardon me, not CBS, except the news division.
And this is, and I want to get other people's feelings on this. I feel like I'm the only one talking here about this, but like CBS and Paramount have always had such a separation that I don't even know why they're even talking about this or having such a big commotion about all this shit.
Well, the FCC has delayed. I mean, the whole thing is that they've delayed final approval on the merger until the Trump lawsuit is resolved. It's as simple as that. So this is really pragmatic, and you have a few activists like Wendy that thinks, no, we can fight it because it's meritless. That's all. I think it's as simple as that.
Well, then that's what it is right there, is because they just want to move forward and get past this shit, and these other people want to fight.
Well, and look, here I am thinking that the easiest thing for them to do, mind you, is to get rid of that one terrible news program, 60 Minutes. Just get rid of it. I don't care how his street it is. I really don't. I don't think the people on it are intellectually honest and or, you know, non-driven by anything other than their politics. I think they're activists pretending to be news readers, you know, and pretending to hire activists to pretend to be analysts. I mean, I'm looking at 60 Minutes, and year over year, there's such a substantial change here that 6.5% year over year fall off is staggering. It's nothing that I would try to keep something around for. I don't know about the rest of you, but it doesn't have that many people watching.
Well, and with Scott Pelley coming out, what was the producer's name that quit? Owens, I think.
Bill Owens.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Just, with Pelley coming out on 60 Minutes, airing the dirty laundry like he's doing, and just the biased coverage. It's just it's tired. It's of another era, and we no longer believe that they're not faking it, right? Like the whole Dan Rather. It wasn't Dan Rather that had the documents in the George W. Bush National Guard service. You remember that when those documents were fake, it turned out?
It was Dan Rather, I think.
It was Dan Rather. Okay.
Yeah. At CBS. Yeah.
So it's sort of like they've been unmasked, right?
Yeah, but I think that's been happening for a long time, Chris. That's not new. I mean, we've been looking at.
Yeah, but the normies don't know that, right?
It's true.
And maybe that's what's happening here. I don't know. They need to shed some dead weight, and I think McMahon is just more of that dead weight. Don't let the door hit you.
Well, I mean, and again, how did she get to her position? Where did she come from? What was her path to this job? See, this is the other problem. Now that you've introduced DEI and pushing more women into corporate leadership, CEO, C-suite level positions. Sure, many of them probably deserve it, but at the same time, now you're entering this territory where people are going to question that each and every time. I don't think that's healthy. I think we've created some very unhealthy situations in corporate America in the last few years. And I'm telling you, there are going to be people that are going to fire off questions like that, and nobody's going to have an answer. Why did this person end up here? Same reason that why did Dana Walden end up where she is for Disney?
Well, yeah, but that's a self-forced error that these companies have been putting on, have set up for themselves. Same thing with affirmative action. Yeah. If you say that there's a quota, if you say that there's an element of your makeup that's going to give you points in favor, then you'll always have a question mark over your head as to whether or not you're there because you earned it or because somebody took pity on you. And that's corporate America's own fault. And so that anybody complaining about it now, you got to look in the mirror. That's their fault. And it's unfortunate because, like you say, you could have someone who is completely qualified, would have gotten there anyway, but because of the last 10, 15 years of, completely trumpeted quota systems that they're all proud of until somebody calls them out on it, you're never going to know for sure. And that's why this stuff should be rejected, especially by people that want to be taken seriously. You can't take Wendy McMahon as seriously as you might otherwise because of DEI, like you said.
Yeah, this is always going to be a problem, and I think you're right. I think it's an unforced error that corporations are going to suffer with now for a long time. And you know what? I don't feel bad for them. I feel bad that people are going to be walking away from jobs because they have such ridiculously highly held beliefs based on activism.
The real question is not so much that DEI has gone in disfavor. The question is, will anybody face any consequences, meaningful consequences to set precedent and scare off this stuff from being used in the future? So far, all we've seen really is companies dropping their DEI programs or changing language, but not facing any legal or financial consequences. Only colleges and universities are feeling some of the heat because they're lower-hanging fruit because of Title VI. I want to see a CBS. I want to see a Disney. I want to see somebody actually get the hammer brought down on them for violations of civil rights law. That needs to happen if this is ever going to go completely away, or at least be discouraged from coming back the way that it has been.
I think you're right. 100%. I do. I think we need to see we need to see comeuppance across the board. And especially when it comes to the civil rights abuses that have been taking place over the last decade.
Yeah, the easiest thing they could do is just, for those companies that have them, and a lot of them do, pull back government contracts immediately. All that federal money going to companies that have been violating civil rights law for the last decade, whether it's Google, Facebook, Disney, Netflix, or elsewise. If you got a government contract or a subsidy of some kind, yank it. Just yank it. Yeah.
And speaking of yanking, I'm sure that Mike would like to yank many more out of the entire CBS ecosystem here. But now that you're back, tell us your feelings on this whole situation.
Well, we're looking here at our DEI hire, right? Let's start with that. This is our DEI hire that's resigning today. And I've been reflecting how, who benefited the most from this whole DEI, let's help the minorities mission and programs over the last several years. It's white chicks.
White women.
White women have benefited the most, to the detriment mostly of white men, almost exclusively, I should say. So goodbye, good riddance. You never should have been there in the first place. Hopefully, with her retirement package, she'll have ample time to go work on her sandwich making skills. Since obviously her news broadcasting management skills weren't up to snuff. Okay, now I'm being crass. All right, so let me be a little intellectual about this. The fall of the major news broadcasting networks has been absolutely atrocious and disgusting to see over the last several years. It is shocking to me how much they have lied, how much they've misrepresented, and how much they have completely and totally abused what our founding forefathers set out for, which was for independent news and independent truth and fact reporting, to be able to keep checks on government, society, and culture, by and large. And it's been bought off. It's been eroded piece by piece, and it's just horrific. And so, I could care less of all these news media agencies. We can live without all of them. Sadly, there's still many, many people, particularly those aged 50 and up, that still believe what CBS has to say, still believe what ABC has to say, and still think that NBC has any kind of credibility. When in reality, they're a bunch of liars to various extents. I mean, even Fox as well, depending on the topic of the day. So, I would love to see the entire thing shut down completely, and I feel like a fool because CBS used to be one of my favorite networks, and I can't believe how brainwashed I was for decades. That led me up until fairly recently to be the leftist, commie, progressive activist that I was for the vast majority of my life. I credit mostly CBS with that, and to a lesser extent, MSNBC. But goodbye, good riddance. Don't let the door kick you on the way out, biatch. And hopefully you learn how to make a good sandwich, because clearly you didn't know how to run a good broadcast network.
Bye.
Yeah, and I think this isn't the end of it either. I think we're going to see some more meat hit the ground, some more cuttings. They really do have some thinning to do, and I think they really should just maybe rest 60 minutes for a while. Would be cost savings.
Yeah. Well, it keeps getting sued. Well, and here's another thing that's kind of funny. Does anybody else have anything more to say about this situation here?
No.
Because and here's where my bullshit meter starts to fly off the handle, because I'm still not convinced that Paramount and CBS are going away from the woke shit anyway. I mean, I'm not saying that they're not less woke than some of the other companies, but we just got word that, because I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but there's a bunch of stuff going on with South Park right now. Matt and Trey's big, huge contract is going to be up here in the next few months. There's all the Warner Brothers and Paramount fights right now going on with over South Park, but it sounds like they may be working something out, because South Park is supposed to be coming to Paramount Plus along with HBO Max before too long. But there's a but. There's a group of episodes that are not making it to streaming, and I know some of you that are South Park fans are like, so that's nothing new. There's already like 4 or 5 episodes that are always removed when it comes to streaming that you can only get on home video. Well, we can add some to that list now, because Paramount has decided that there's a laundry list of South Park episodes that are not going to make it their way to streaming. And somebody has done a great job of compiling that list along with the reasons why they probably aren't making their way to streaming. So let's go through that list real quick and get everybody's reaction to this. We got Big Gay Al's Boat Ride, which is actually one of the earliest episodes. Of course, the reason for that, fear of insulting the LGBTQ plus community. There's Terrence and Phillips, Not Without My Anus. Well, the obvious reason there, Saddam Hussein.
Well, I think that actually maybe was related to the same fear of offending the LGBTQ.
I was going to say, I think it has less to do with Saddam, because that's the other thing here is there's a few of these I'm not so sure I agree with, but I just like that they actually went to the extra effort. Pip and Great Expectations says, I have no clue. Maybe since it's the worst episode. He's not wrong. It's not one of the better episodes.
Yeah.
Super Best Friends. Obvious depiction of Muhammad. That's one of the notorious ones that's always blocked. A new one added, Jared has AIDS. Oh, who did we just lose?
Culture had to
Oh,
be
he had to
leaving.
run? We should have gave him an out. I didn't know he was leaving already.
No, well, we'll do it after the fact.
Okay. Well, check out Culture Casino's channel. Simpsons already did it because of Miss chokes on Dick's death. I don't know about that. Again, not sure why that
Can I
was.
speculate on Jared has AIDS?
Yeah, go ahead.
Might be offensive to the LGBTQ community.
Yeah, that's true. And then we got the canceled, insulting Jewish people, and depiction of the Weinstein brothers. Honestly, I'm not even sure why that one would matter to them, but okay. Passion of the Jew. Again, I'm not so sure why they're so worried about insulting Jews, because there's a tons of episodes they're leaving on that have nothing to do with that. And then you got F in the A, music copyrights potentially. That
yeah. Let's go with that. Let's go with that.
Let's go with that. Sure. Yeah. 2 days before the day after tomorrow, Hurricane Katrina tragedy.
I don't know why anybody would be worried about that.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. Trapped in the closet, obvious reasons. And that one's a big obvious reason because, yeah. The Cartoon Wars 1 and 2, that's one of the notorious two of the four, I think, altogether there were originally. 201 and 200 and 201 are also part of that group. So there was 5 initially. Oh, no, there was 6 initially. There's one that's not mentioned on here. That maybe this is why I'm not so sure about some of these reasons. We got Chupacabra and Ginger Cow, which are both mainly to do with Jewish stuff, but of course Ginger Cow has to do with Muslims and Christians as well. But there's a Christian one that I don't see anywhere here. Do you guys know which one I'm talking about?
The Mormon thing?
There's that one, but that one they don't usually give a shit about. No, I'm talking about the one where the statue's bleeding. That used to be on the banned list. Evidently it's no longer on the banned list.
Oh, nothing's better than that.
Gosh, Tom, you can say anything you want about Christians. It's the Muslims.
That's what I'm saying.
You got to worry about.
So yeah,
You know,
they're
everybody knows Christians are evil, Tom.
Yeah, bleeding from the anus, that episode. Yeah, that used to be one of the banned ones, and it's not on the list now.
Well, again, I do not recall the episode, but just judging from the title, that sounds like offensive to the LGBTQ plus.
No, my point is they let it back in. It's the episode where the Virgin Mary statue or whatever is bleeding from the down nether regions.
Okay, so it's not offensive to the LGBTQ.
No, it's
that,
more.
That would be why.
Yeah.
Then I think that someone before just looked at the title and assumed offensive to the LGBTQ community. Then they saw the actual episode and say, "Oh wait, it's offensive to Christians. Oh, it's fine then."
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that one's called Bloody Mary.
Bloody Mary. I knew it was something like. I'm trying to think. I was trying to think of the title. But yeah.
So now this is just speculative. This list is right, not speculative on which ones aren't going to make it, but why they're not going to make it.
Right.
Yes,
the latter
correct.
is true. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And so does this mean that some episodes will be on HBO Max and others may not be on Paramount Plus?
It makes me wonder if this is going to be the new thing going forward, because as far as I know of the original, okay, so initially the band 5 are not on HBO, being Bloody Mary, Super Best Friends, 200 and 201, and Cartoon Wars 1 and 2. So those were the episodes that were never allowed before. Those were the only ones. Because of Mohammed mainly, and Bloody Mary obviously, because that one goes a little too far in certain aspects. But hey, it's South Park, so what are you gonna do? But I think that's the main reason why that one was always, because it was just distasteful, I guess would be the term to put towards it. But yeah, seeing this new list, that's the only one that's making its way back. But they've added a crap ton more, is what I'm seeing here.
Wasn't it Cartoon Wars? Wasn't that a 2-parter?
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. 200, 201, Cartoon Warriors 1 and 2, and Super Best Friends, along with Bloody Mary, were the original ones that were never to be aired again and would never be on streaming. And the only way you can get them is on home video.
Physical media is still king, is the proof. That's what this whole point of this story is, right?
Yeah, but I was just saying, like, and I brought this up also because A, it is a story, and B, because it's also along with Paramount. And if they're going to do this to South Park, I only believe half the shit those people are saying over at 60 Minutes and this chickie poo who left. Right? They just want to keep fighting Trump. That's what I keep hearing. and the studios and CBS and Paramount are like, no, we just want to pay him off so we can get this fucking merger done with. Is what I see. But in this case, this to me bothers me even more because this is even more episodes that are being added to the banned list, and I don't like that.
Yeah, it does seem weird that they're going above, and I guess Trey that they have to go along with it. Trey and Matt. I mean, they just want the money.
I think they're fine as long as they're available on home video.
Sure, okay.
Because the one that they ever really butted heads with the most, I think, was the Cartoon Wars one, with that whole thing, and the 200 and 201 were the ones I think, because those were the ones where I think they actually got threats and stuff.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, like there were bomb threats and all that kind of shit on Paramount and CBS.
So is Comedy Central still putting, or is Paramount putting out the DVDs or any physical media?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can still get them.
So they haven't stopped.
In fact, you can now get like the first 20 seasons in these big packs that are pretty cheap, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, there's always a second-hand market as well. So, but anyway, with stuff like this only goes to show, just stick on to your physical media.
Yeah.
Because if it weren't for physical media, if all you had was streaming, these episodes effectively be lost.
In a kind of related note, it's really funny that this is just over this weekend. I was noticing that Paramount has been slowly adding more and more uncut Beavis and Butthead episodes. And I don't just mean the videos. They have like Home Improvement, a few of the episodes that were on the banned list there. And they're fully intact with Beavis having his lighter and everything. So that's what's strange about this. It's like, okay, why are you going after South Park now when you're actually lightening up on Beavis and Butthead a little bit?
Yeah.
Can I speculate?
Please.
Beavis and Butthead didn't go after the LGBTQIP plus community.
That is very true. I don't think they're ever... Well, that's not totally true. There was some earlier episodes...
Well, it wasn't a recurring thing.
Yeah, you're right about that. But I mean, I'm sure there was at least a couple times earlier on.
I'm sure it happened a couple of times. I don't think that those are the episodes which are being restored now.
Yeah, I'd have to go through them again. It's been just sporadic ones, it seems like. There's no like rhyme or reason to it. But like Home Improvement was one that stuck out to me because I know that was on the banned list. And it actually has the scene with Beavis as a lighter in it. And then the other one...
Beavis and Butthead have never been nearly as high profile as South Park for being politically charged.
No, but if you remember what that was all about, those specific episodes, any episode that had anything to do with fire was either cut completely from the rotation or they altered it. And Mike Judge always claimed that they altered them at the negative to where they didn't exist anymore. But what they've been putting up is they're not fully HD quality. They're like, they got to be from like a 1/4-inch master tape or something like that. They're better than DVD and VHS quality, but they're not quite HD.
I don't think they actually exist in HD.
I think that's the point.
Yeah, because I remember that at least in documentaries, they screened the episodes that they had made on like a big screen internally in Paramount. And these then weren't like what was on TV. This was the absolute highest quality that it was physically possible to display the episodes in. And they decided, yeah, no, this is not going to fly on a big screen. We really have to redo the animation completely for Beavis and Butthead, the movie.
Well, and like I said, like I'm sure they did the animation itself on film, but I know like the TV sequences, they had like most of the time just like reused footage that they would keep reusing. So like if you go to like the 2012 revival, and this is where it's kind of weird, is when they're in the regular episode, it's in full HD. But then when they flip to the TV stuff, even though if the TV material would have been HD originally, it doesn't matter. It's like the old music videos. It's all the same footage from back in the day. So it automatically flips over to like a standard def. So like I'm sure there is kind of like a variant in what they have available as far as what's left. And I don't want to get into all that techie shit.
Yeah, cost-cutting measures is what it sounds like.
Yeah. But anyhow, that being said, it's just kind of weird that Paramount is not allowing these episodes to be on streaming anymore, or probably in circulation for broadcast as well, I'd imagine. So it went from like 5 or 6 episodes now to a laundry list of them.
Yeah. Well, Win some and lose some, I guess. And either way, preserve your physical media.
Yeah. Well, let's check in. Is there anybody who had to check out before we check into Super Chats and get on with our next story? Or was there anything more to say about South Park?
I got a few more minutes.
Yeah, let's
Same.
go straight into the next
Well,
next
let's just
story,
do that
and
then.
we'll save the super chat for last.
We can do that. What's your next story you got here?
Next story is in the private chat. That is about Ironheart.
Oh, fuck.
You know, this massive win that's coming for Marvel and for Disney on Disney Plus in the next couple of months here, just to kill some more goodwill right before the release of Fantastic Four. Now, this story goes around a few places. We picked ours from Bounding into Comics. And the story here, it's the Ironheart co-creator, i.e. the artist who first drew Ironheart. That would be Mike Deodato, talented artist, who slams Marvel Studios for shortchanging comic book talent. The compensation model hasn't kept pace with the success. Now, the gist of his story here is the principle, which is that comic book creators should be compensated more when the characters that they create make hundreds and millions and billions for Disney. Then there should be some bonus coming the comic book creators' way. That certainly is what he feels. Now, Chris, you of course, you know the comic book industry and stuff like that. And I can see the principle here, but is Ironheart the right character to be making this argument with?
Well, I mean, it's a derivative. I mean, right out of the gate, it's like trying to get credit for creating the third iteration of a Spider-Man type character, right? So it's already sort of it's a derivative of Iron Man. Then it's not even that big or popular of a character. The comic book itself, which I think debuted in like 2018, was not very popular back then. It was quickly canceled.
2016, I think it was. The character debuted in.
I think she debuted in 2016, but I don't think they actually put out a series featuring her.
No, this is true. Yeah, that may be 2018. The character appeared in 2016, but the solo comic, which was canceled a few issues in, that may have been 2018. Yeah, you're right.
I think it is. And so, I mean, I'm not sure if Deodato, the artist, is. I mean, it's pointless. Beyond that, these artists, and I love comic creators, don't get me wrong. I have a lot of goodwill towards them, and I love the medium. But it is work for hire. What you're doing is work for hire.
Mm-hmm.
This is not creator-owned works, right? This is not much different than the casting agent and the makeup artist wanting credit for Sean Connery's James Bond, you know, for making him look right or something. Deodato was told what to draw. He was paid for what he drew, and he knew it was a work for hire. Yes, he is the first person to have, you know, laid out the design for the first Ironheart suit, I guess. But again, it's such a derivative character that I'm not sure what argument's being made. Although I do appreciate the discussion of creator compensation and the model. So Marvel could have a lot more goodwill if maybe instead of $5,000 and an invite to the premiere, they gave them $25,000 or something, right? It's not like, but I don't know what amount would be enough, right? Because the savvy creator is going to say, well, I want a percentage of the profits, not knowing that Hollywood math is going to prevent you from ever seeing any profits from the movie, right? But I wonder if Brian Michael Bendis, who the character of Riri Williams is actually based on one of his adopted daughters, I wonder if he's making the same argument that he deserves some kind of bonus compensation from Marvel. I don't know. I'm not sure.
If he calls one of his daughters Riri, I feel sorry for him.
I don't think that's his daughter's name, but I think that was supposed to be some kind of alliteration, you know, like Peter Parker, Clark Kent, Riri Williams. I don't know.
On the derivative side, I find it interesting because, as we've seen in the promotional material for the series, they've done everything they can but bend over backwards to say, no, this is not Iron Man's inheritor. She is her own character. She's her own independent being and everything else. I don't know if that will lead to some meat to Deodato's claim at all, because like Chris said, it is.
I don't think
work
it'll
for hire.
help, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
There's already kind of precedent set for this. And in that, look, I'm all for anybody who creates anything getting full credit for it, even if it's a derivative work. Like if you create something new and add to that, you do deserve credit for it. Your name should be added to the "and" when it comes to that character. You know, created by so and so, and
Sure.
add new person. As far as monetarily, I'm going to say something that Robert Meyer Burnett always says, and he's 100% right. You don't get what you're worth in Hollywood, or in this case, comic books or music. In some cases, you get what you negotiate for.
Yep.
And if you didn't fucking negotiate for something up front, guess what? Tough titty, little kitty. There's no more milk left. I'm telling you right now, you didn't get it in there.
You're not entirely correct, but I don't want to.
Let me finish my fucking point, because this is the way it works. You can sue Disney. You can sue Disney all you want over Ironheart. Go for it. But guess what? There's already precedent set that the courts will just say, "I'm sorry, this is a derivative character of Iron Man." That's it. Because this has already happened. The Jason Voorhees case went to court, and they decided it did not fucking matter that 200 other fucking people had contributed to Jason between the time Victor Miller had wrote the original Friday the 13th and the remake had come out. Jason is a derivative fucking character. As far as they're concerned, Victor Miller created him. He has ownership. So that's how it goes. And that's what will happen if they go to court. That's why I'm saying that you get what you negotiate for. It's not about what you're worth. It's what you negotiate for. It has nothing to do with any of these people. And even Rob Liefeld will tell you how shitty Disney is. And why the fuck would Disney go out of their way to be nice? They're not going to give you anything that they don't fucking have to. And that's what we've learned from people, as we've talked to from the author for Star Wars. Just forgot out his name here.
Timothy Zahn.
Timothy Zahn, or not Timothy Zahn, but the other one we talked to.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm blanking right. I'm moving on.
But you know who I'm talking about. Yeah, they don't want to pay anybody anything. So if you don't get it in writing from Disney, you're not going to get shit.
Alan
let
Dean
alone
Foster?
anybody else in Hollywood. That's all I'm saying. And Paul, it's not about my feelings. I'm just spitting facts here. That's the whole point.
No, you're not spitting facts. You're actually factually incorrect. But I don't.
How am I factually incorrect? Please tell me.
I don't want to go back and forth, because it's you made a blanket statement saying you are what you negotiate. Is that correct?
No, I said you get what you negotiate. How is that incorrect?
Correct. You get what you negotiate. Yeah, you don't know how the business has been the last 20 years. That is, it's. But yeah, we can go on. We can go on.
Yeah, well, that's something we need Robert Meyer Burnett here to discuss that as well, because he also has some thoughts on that. But your argument before we start.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that Deodato. I mean, he knows this. This isn't news. This might be the first character though that he's had a hand in creating that's been adapted to live action, so he's wanting to make some noise about it. I get it, but Disney's going to win this. They might. I mean, if he can get good legal representation, perhaps he might get a larger chunk of cash, a one-time buyout or something, I guess. But I don't think so. And this is to your point, Tom. Rob Liefeld, or was it you, Andre, that just said Rob Liefeld was crying about this with Deadpool.
I think we both may have said that.
Yeah, I think if Rob Liefeld can't get any respect for Deadpool, which you could argue is a derivative of a character from DC Comics more than anything, but really created whole cloth. Nobody's going to. Deodato's not going to get anything extra for Ironheart.
I'm just surprised that Deodato's complaining at all. He's no greenhorn at this, so he must have known ahead of time that he wasn't. It's just so bizarre that he even say anything at all. It just causes stress that's unnecessary, and it's just going to be a waste of time.
I do understand though, because how often has he had characters that he can claim co-credit on that gets an adaptation?
When I haven't read this article from Spencer, I don't know if Deodato is really slamming Disney.
He's not really slamming. He's more talking about the principle, and I think that the principle we can all agree on. The principle is that it's unfair as it is, and it needs to be more fair to creators. I think that everyone can agree with the argument, and that it's being made at all is because he has a relatively weak case. If he didn't have a weak case, he wouldn't be making the argument. Then he would just be getting the cash. It's
That's true. Yeah.
If he could do that, then he'd do that instead of making this argument. He's making it because he can't, and then you can argue whether that's fair or unfair. And I'd side on unfair. I would also side on this probably isn't the best character to do it on. Because if anything, this is where Disney should say, what earnings? I mean, if anything, you owe us because this character is going to lose us a fortune. But in general, yeah, I see where he is coming from, and the system maybe could be amended somewhat.
I don't know if anybody saw the post. It was actually originally on Facebook, where comicbookmovie.com had posted some images from Ironheart and said, and this is the opening of the post says, "Where is the excitement for Ironheart?" Trailer that was released a few days ago looks fantastic. Marvel Studios' new show is set to usher in a new era filled with genius, heart, and power. From the streets of Chicago to the skies of the MCU, Riri Williams is about to change everything. I appreciate that they used a combination of practical suits and CGI, resulting in a perfect final product.
Is that TM Disney I see right there at the bottom?
Gravy.
That sounds like it was ripped straight out of their fucking...
Oh, yeah. That was bought and paid for, it feels like, doesn't it? But the
Like their
question
synopsis
starting
or
out,
whatever, yeah.
the question you're starting out with, where is the excitement for Ironheart? So Bleeding Full posted that comic shop owners were asking the same thing back in 2018. Where's the excitement for Ironheart?
Ooh.
I don't. Come on, comic book movie, do better. Do better.
Yeah, but you don't get paid for doing better. You get paid for doing business bidding, I guess.
I guess, yeah, that's where the money is.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on here. I know we are losing a few panelists, so let's and we have some super chats. Anyone that really have to go before we get into super chats?
All right, we're gonna go. We got Ben Dowdy who says hi, folks. Well, hi, Ben. He's been here for 21 months. We need to do a member stream, Andre.
Yeah, I did it earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, Packing Proton sends in 5 and says, Can someone ask AI Vader if Mexican Iron Man is really a YouTuber? Well, we all know the answer to that. It's yes.
Well, okay, hold on. First of all, don't be doing that on AI. We all know that the AI has been compromised with hashtag fake news. Don't nobody do that. People have been doing that and posting it on X. And Mexican Iron Man disavows that BS AI crap. That whether it's ChatGPT or that other one or Grok, they're all a bunch of liars.
According to Grok, you are a Mexican YouTuber.
Well, Grok is
Mexican Iron Man is a YouTuber.
Grok is compromised because Elon, Nazi,
and you can't even say. Hold up. You can't even say it's because you're on channels like ours. Because get this, it says you do content like unboxings, entertainment discussion themed videos, and Taco Tuesday, and Mexican Iron Man versus Skynet channel, which is around 3.28 subscribers. You're a YouTuber. And you're the only one on this panel that I know has gotten laid for being one.
Oh my God, we have more super chats too.
Go141 sends in 20 Mexican dollars, says, how do we know if Pedro Pascal isn't an AI puppet? We
don't.
We don't?
Yeah, that's the answer to that. We don't.
He's like Schrodinger's AI puppet.
We just have to take for granted that he isn't. And then Le Cimmerian says for $9.99. Thank you. 2 thoughts. 1, you guys need to have Sabine Hossenfelder on to do science reviews of sci-fi movies. Oh, I'd love that. And so would Paul Chateau, because we're both big fans of Sabine Hossenfelder. Anyone else here watch Sabine Hossenfelder?
Not bringing any bells offhand.
You're missing out. And 2, when can we expect a Conan IP update? Well, you can expect more Conan comic book reviews and my comment on the Rodriguez speaking out about his past involvement on Conan before long here. As for a Conan IP update. I'd have to check with Malmberg what's the current status on things. I hope before soon, because they're working on some very, very freaking exciting things. At least last I heard. But I haven't spoken with them for months. So,
if I could mention the Heroic Signatures, who are reprinting the omnibus line with Titan.
Yeah,
I'm still waiting on my second omnibus. I mean, they just announced they're going to do Conan the Adventurer, which is a '90s series.
Yeah, that was Marvel's first reboot of the title.
Yeah, it was, and I can't remember the artist's name, but he looked a lot like Barry Windsor Smith's work, early work.
Only 90s version of it.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. But I am kind of wondering what's taking so long on getting the books that have already been solicited and pre-ordered out.
If I were to guess from past experience, it's making sure they're perfect, because because all of the Titan ones, they have been delayed, and the reason for the delays is that they've actually gone through and checked and double checked to make sure that there's no errors like there were in the previous Marvel versions.
Okay,
because you have like super fans there that make sure that these things actually are perfect by the time they see print. And it's like, oh shit, we just discovered something. We have to fix this thing.
Well, I appreciate that. I would just like whatever's damming up the river of Conan material to be undammed.
As far as I know, last I heard, it's pure perfectionism.
Okay.
Did you hear that whole Rodriguez-Rogan interview?
Yes, like this is. I'll do a video with commentary on that. I know a little bit more about it. I just have to.
No, I did.
I'm allowed to share.
Yeah, I was really impressed. I had no idea he was such a hardcore. The fan of the artist. Excuse me. What was his last name?
Frazetta.
Frazetta.
Snema.
Frazetta.
Frank Frazetta.
Frazetta Museum and stuff like that. Yeah, no, we knew him. That was going to be Fire and Ice. I mean, we were freaking robbed of Fire and Ice.
Yeah, well, it was a great conversation. Because Rogan was even more of a fan, and he's like, "We got to come to my house. I got a Frazetta hanging." I was like, that really kind of opened my eyes to Rodriguez's real passion for it. Yeah. Because I didn't think that he had it in regards to wanting to bring Conan back.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So I have a video in the making about that. I just have to make sure that I don't share anything that could undermine any future planned things. But no, so that was super cool. So more to come on that. And,
all right, are we safe to move on? Okay, Derek Dark Hierophant sent in 16 a month super member chat. Thank you for that. Pack of Proton sends in another 5. Thank you for that. It says breaking news: Disney buys the Three Stooges, announces movie reboot. Pedro Pascal as Mo, Cynthia Erivo as Carlina, and Mark Ruffalo as Larry. Don't you dare give them this idea! Holy shit! Because I could see this happening.
I'd watch that
in a weird fucking way, maybe.
Listen, Tom. Pedro will play all three of them.
There you go.
Please no.
He'll play all three of them. Hey, listen, they did it Sinners. Come on, Ben.
Oh, man.
And let me just say real quickly, Tom, I do apologize because I should have just, kind of like backed up my statement. And, I didn't mean to like say, no, you're wrong. Oh, okay. That's my bad.
No worries. I'm just wondering if you misheard what I said more so than anything, but okay.
It is just a different struggle, and literally we have the poster to our film that we're trying to get keep it get it. It's on Tubi, get it to people, and I did, man. I in regards to you are what you negotiate, and to an extent, if you're a star, I totally agree. Where I said, no, you're not, where I think you're not agreeing, where you're not on the same team is people who don't have that power, which is a lot of working actors and filmmakers. But I know you agree there.
So, exactly. I think that's here's the thing where both of your statements meet. There's no rule without exception, right?
yeah. So again, my bad to the chat. All apologies. I should have said, okay, well, here's what I mean, guys.
Yeah.
Instead of bitch out and say, oh no, I don't want to talk about it. So I'm taking the L, guys.
And I was just quoting Robert Meyer Burnett anyhow. So there.
Yeah.
Hey, that's
and the truth is, of course, you are both right, but there are different circumstances, and it depends on the individual power level.
Well, and we're also talking about a guy who made a derivative work of another character. We're not talking about an indie film crew here. You know, like there's a big difference there.
And then I had said about the businesses, the way it literally expanded and then contracted the last 15 years since streaming started. It fucked over the little man. Seriously. Totally, man. To where when we get a deal memo for a guest starring role on a major show on several episodes that Romy is going to be on, we get paid shit. And what are we going to do? Say no to the movie? I mean, it is so bad, ladies. So that's probably another reason why I got a little extra trigger. Again, I apologize to Tom and to the chat.
Yeah.
I know Tom doesn't take it personal. It's not a personal attack.
Yeah.
Is that it's like, well, what the fuck? We gotta live. We gotta pay rent. We gotta, we're gonna take that role that's on, opposite a major star. Of course you're gonna take it, but you can only negotiate so much because you're not a name. However, a lot of no-name actors make up a lot of the majority of television shows. So that's where I was going off on.
Yeah, exactly. Like basically what you mean. Like Tom is right. You get what you negotiate, and the hedge there, of course, is. But only some people are in the position to negotiate at all. That's what you're referring to, right?
Right. And again, love you, Tom.
And that's where we're in agreement. But yeah,
right. Well, in this case, like I said, my main point is you also have a situation here where it's not an original character, right? Yeah. Even that was where I was invoking Rob Liefeld, because he, at least Deadpool being even if it's a satire of Deadshot or whatever, it's still an original character at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right. The difference here is no matter what you've done to Iron Fart to make her a new quote unquote character, she's still derivative of Iron Man. You still need Iron Man to exist for her to exist. So at the end of the day, if you wanted more out of Disney or Marvel when you created that character, you should have negotiated more. You can bitch about it now, that's fine. And then I got to the next part of my point, which is that Disney has treated everybody like shit, even people like Alan Dean Foster, who we talked to. Right? They don't give a shit who you are. They're not going to pay you unless you come after. In fact,
I'm going to back that up
across the board.
I'm going to also back that up, because why do you think Jimmy Smits wasn't Bail Organa?
Because they didn't want to work with his schedule or with his money or whatever it was. Yeah,
with his money. It's Disney. It's Disney. They did the same thing.
He's probably like, this is the fourth time I played this role. Can we get that bumped up a little bit?
Hello?
Probably, I would imagine.
And then you're only going to go into Rogue One. Can you give me some fucking respect? And at least pay my quote that my agent, my representation is. No, we're not going to do it.
And then sometimes you negotiate yourself, but on the note, you will negotiate yourself out of a job sometimes too. That's true.
Well, and he was fine with saying peace him out. So was Jeremy Renner.
But anyhow,
all right.
Hollywood Burns says, "Hi, lawyer here. Trump lawsuit is nothing burger. The settlement is only a bribe to get the sale through." Well, I mean, they don't want to sit in court through this, right?
No, right.
They don't want this because this is another thing is if they settle with this stuff, they can sweep it under the rug as much as possible. Because you got folks who are on the left. As soon as you bring that shit up, they have no idea what the hell you're talking about.
Well, and I think Trump is successfully leveraging the situation, right?
Oh, probably.
This is not nearly as egregious as George Stephanopoulos over at ABC calling him a convicted a rapist and things like that repeatedly.
Right.
But that was just pennies. I think that was like 15 or 16 million. This is 20 billion. So
yeah. Well,
and the money, I think that, and the Facebook Meta lawsuit, that settlement, that was 22 million. It went to the Trump Presidential Library. I mean, all the money's going there. It's not like he's just putting it in his back pocket. But
no, I know. But I mean, I get into these debates, especially like with my dad, for instance. And as soon as I bring up all the lawsuits and how they've had all paid out to him and all that business,
yeah,
he don't even act like he knows what I'm talking about.
Interesting.
Like, there's your proof right there that they've done nothing but lie.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
why do you think this is all in the way it is? No. Okay, whatever. Anyway, Lester San Jose Skeptic Tank says, regarding film, esteemed panelist has the craft of filmmaking become such where only a few select few now know how to shoot film worthy of theater-based experience and nothing else. TVs, home theaters. You know, Lester, this is a good question, and I think it's a very nuanced question that would take a long time to really kind of get into, but I would love to get everybody's kind of brief kind of idea on this. I feel like there's something to what you're saying here. There could be more people, but there's only some people who truly understand filmmaking as a basis. And then you have the rest who are just trying to do it because they wanted to get rich and famous.
Yeah. I'm going to chime in real quick because Scribe Light has to leave, and he just did.
left.
Wow.
But anyway, I think that this is actually a byproduct of the transition to streaming. I think it's a matter of you have like the producer stuff like that. They have the kind of people that they like to work with. Paul, you can confirm this. Like in Hollywood, it's like typically you get a clique of people. You know who you have some people on speed dial, and in the age of streaming, when it comes to cameramen and stuff like that, the people that many have on speed dial are the ones that can get the job done really quickly and adapt for streaming. And especially when you look at something like Disney. And here's the thing, there's a lot of people who can shoot proper cinema out there. But the ones you are going to be seeing the most are the most high-profile content, typically Disney Plus content, which is by the definition is going to be a little bit more like cable-looking in a sense. Whereas the ones that shoot more cinematic, the ones who are looking for those guys, and they also have their own little clique that they're working with, their same recurring names. So you're just not going to be seeing as much of it.
Well,
that's my thought.
You got more technical than I was getting to. I wasn't even going to dive into that aspect, but what you're talking about is even more simple than that. A lot of it's just because there's only certain guys who will work with film now. And those same cinematographers are all, you're 100% right. They're all working for either Nolan or Tarantino or whoever is making a movie at that time, Wes Anderson, on film. And some of these guys, most of these guys have died out. And that's another thing is a lot of these things have not been passed on to the next generation. And a lot of these guys are just using the same camera setups and everything else that they're using on both the television shows and the movies. They're shot with the same exact cameras and setups, same crews and everything. That's why the Marvel stuff all looks the same. If you want to get into that technical aspect of it.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be said. Lester's asking, like you said, Tom, a very nuanced question. And even the best movies, like I saw recently, Black Bag, it's a good movie. The problem with it, he was wondering why it wasn't a bigger hit. And to me, the immediate answer to that is you didn't have any bankable stars. I mean, you had good actors in the roles, but you didn't have people that put butts in seats, right? You had great Fassbender, I think, and what's her name?
Kate Blanchett.
What's that?
Kate Blanchett, Michael Fassbender.
Yep. But those aren't actors that people are like, oh man, I can't wait to see the next Fassbender movie, right? Just a really good movie. It was really well.
Soderbergh film.
What's it?
It's a Soderbergh film. So Soderbergh does have his followers, his fans.
That's right.
But does it open up a box office? Those are completely different, right?
Sure. And so I'm not sure if Lester's asking that about the craft of filmmaking, because there's some auteurs out there that I think they didn't go to filmmaking school or whatever. They just, maybe like a Quentin Tarantino or somebody like that, just go on and watch these movies and then realize how to make movies. I'm going to recommend, I know this might be a faux pas on a YouTube channel, but there's a small YouTube channel called Joy of Editing. He's going through all the George Lucas Star Wars movies and re-editing scenes and showing you scenes that could have been just a little bit better if one or two things like the opening of The Empire Strikes Back where Luke is on the Tauntaun and he looks over and he sees that meteorite. And it was right after that probe droid had landed like just the moment before. He kind of redoes that whole scene. And when you see it, you go, this guy gets it. This guy knows how to tell story. And he's going through the whole thing. It's called joy of editing. And I think there are people who are gifted. There are people who are trained. And then there are people who teach it all themselves that are also gifted, like say a Quentin Tarantino, for instance. And they're just rare. You can get those movies out there, and every now and then everything clicks together. You've got the right cast, it's the right timing, it's the right pitch, and it works, or it's the zeitgeist of the moment. But it's really it's not a formula that just anyone can follow. I mean, there's so much more to it. So this is a very nuanced question.
Yeah. So my big answer to this time, this is a great question. First of all, Lester, my big answer is that the majority of what Hollywood is putting out is content. They don't give a shit about filmmaking, about cinema, right? So what you're seeing, and Tom's absolutely right. You're seeing the OG saying, well, fuck you too. And they're kind of just dying out because they don't need this grief, or they're selling out. Like, look, I'm old. I got grandkids. I want to take care of those kids. That's why you're seeing people who you'd never would think of going to Apple TV, going to Netflix. Scorsese and Apple TV. Who would ever think that? It's it's some people are saying that it's sacrilegious. So so that's what's going on. That's the big answer, is that it's content right now, and content is just disgusting as far as like how you approach the craft of filmmaking and cinema. There's an argument to be made as to the cinematic merits of this movie, Hurry Up Tomorrow, which I thought was a complete waste of my time. But I saw people, just praising its cinema merits, and I'm like, look, I don't give a shit because I didn't like the story. I didn't like The Weeknd, but I love this director because I loved his work before. It Comes at Night, Trey Schultz. Then there's these other filmmakers that they're never going to do anything with an IP with Hollywood ever, right? And who started that? Cassavetes, Woody Allen, and then it went, right? It went. Now you have the Wes Andersons, you have Soderbergh to an extent. You'll never see those guys do a fucking Star Wars film, which is great. You don't want them to, and if you like their type of cinema, Linklater as well, and now Ari Aster. So they are there. They're just becoming more selective in regards to like their speciality in cinema, Lester. So there are there. That's. I
think the key term you brought up there was content. That changed everything when it went from actually making TV shows or cable shows and movies to just making content.
Yep. It's a killer, man. It's a fucking killer. And you'll hear directors, like when they're doing these panels and interviews, they can't stand that whole approach from Hollywood. And yet you got to dance with the devil that you came with. The devil's a corporation. These corporations own these big studios, which is why I think independent distribution companies, independent studios, you got to support that, man. You got to support that. Yeah. And I think, going back to Tom in regards to horror, that's why you're seeing a lot of really good young filmmakers doing horror, because it's cheap to make. I could do it for a few million bucks, maybe to 10. Then if it gets selected in a film festival, then it'll get bought for 20 million.
Not only that, it's immune to a lot of the things you're talking about. Like, you don't necessarily need a big movie star and all these other things. Like, look at Terrifier is a great example. Yeah, no, it's weird thing. The thing that we're thinking of for our next project is writing a horror comedy. That's unique because it's so self-contained. We can get it funded for a few $1 million and make it look like $1 million, make it really look like like it's something. These films like The Accountant and the Amateur, they're saying, it's relatively low compared to what? Compared to these bloated budgets?
Since when did 60 million, $80 million for a movie like that? That is considered low. That is a lot of money. That is a lot of money. You get a Cord Jefferson or someone. They'll say, "Give me 20 of that. Give the Godzilla guy. Give the Godzilla guy 5 to 10 million. He'll make you a masterpiece."
Yeah, and Chris had to drop out. Sorry, guys. Just to let y'all know. But yeah, no, you're 100% right. Mikey, did you have anything to add to this? Or
No, I'm just really excited about the content that's going to be on Paulie's live stream.
But see, you're right, because it's not creative. I don't consider what I do.
That was a good one, huh?
That was a good one. No, that was a good one.
Let's keep moving then. Hollywood Burns says Trump won the election, so suffered no damage and therefore has no standing. Redstone put a stop to the lawyers dismissing the case for a reason. I don't know about the latter part, but you don't always have to suffer damage to sue for libel and salacious claims, especially if, like, I mean, you just the fact that they're a television station and they're doing it, they have a responsibility to be truthful, because he may not have suffered any what you would perceive as damage because he did win the election, but one could also argue that that's why he won the election, because people know they were lying.
Yeah.
There's more to it than that. I mean, as far as like financial damage, if he actually wants to go, argue that point, that's one thing. But I mean, when you're doing his blatant, libel and stuff like that they're doing,
and also that particularly is a matter of principle, because he won the election, but you know what? This is a margin election. It could very easily have gone the other way. And also, it's not just a matter of winning or losing. Like, who is to say if the Electoral College victory wouldn't have been even bigger? Maybe that interview cost them houses in the Senate. Maybe it cost them seats in the House. That we don't know. No one can know. And that's the whole purpose for the principle behind it, that he can argue this was election interference. We do not know that there was any actual impact from it, or if there was, how much. But point is that they did a certain amount of editing to make one candidate look better. You can make the argument that that's election interference, unless you have that particular argument on both sides, unless they can point to, but we did the same thing for you. Here, we edited away your flubs, or here we edited away your ramblings to make you look more coherent in a 30-second spot or something. Then it all
when
goes
they would
away.
Actually do the opposite. See, that's the problem.
Yeah, but if they haven't done that, then the argument is that is election interference, and it's more about winning or losing. It's also about number of seats that may have been lost because of it.
Well, and just from my memory of going to school about all this shit, like with the journalism aspect of things, you can't just go out there and lie, right? You can't just do that. That's not. I mean, it doesn't work that way. I mean, that's why Dan Rather had to step down, right? We brought him up earlier. It's a very fine line you tread when you're doing that. You have to check everything. That's why they never run usually with stories unless there's at least two sources or more. Because you run the risk, if you can't prove it, or there's not at least somebody who can back your shit up, you could be sued. And there doesn't for slander or libel, and there doesn't necessarily have to be any monetary loss there. I mean, there's other things you can argue, and you have a responsibility when it comes to reporting the news on a network, whether it's radio, television, what have you. Internet's the place that's like the Wild West. Like, that's what's wild for me, is coming into this world compared to what it was in radio. It was very finite on what you could say, do, report, all that business. Like, I know a lot of people like to make a lot of big deals about, like, when they have, like, all the stations read the same quote when they're saying stuff. It's like, yeah, you guys got to realize that all that stuff, the reason that is because it's rip and read stuff. You get it. That's what we used to call it in the business. You get it from AP. You're not allowed to alter any of it. You're not allowed to do anything to it. This is the predetermined, approved shit that you can read. Nothing else, nothing more. You cannot editorialize it or anything like that. So I'm not saying that's the excuse for everything. I'm just saying that's the way things used to kind of be. And it's because things had to go through networks to be checked. And that's why we didn't have so many slander and libel lawsuits back then, I think, too. Because now all of a sudden it's like everybody just fucking goes out there, reports whatever the fuck they want, says what they want on both sides, to be fair, right? It's not just a one-sided thing either. But there's just more of the one side. That's the problem.
With radio, was it like also a vetting thing for, you had to earn your way to get in there?
As far as like
unlike the internet, like,
well, you actually have to go to school, you have to get a license and all that kind of stuff. Like there's certain things you have to go through, and in that license, if I were to go out there and report on, let's say there was an accident, and all of a sudden I know somebody in that accident, and I just say, well, I'm sure so and so was drunk. That's going to make me lose my license, and I'm going to get fired. Gotcha. Get my drift?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
If I said that and that was not on if there was nowhere in there that it said that the driver was drunk, and I'm just like, I know so-and-so, they were fucking drinking.
Well,
you know what I mean?
That's a hilarious example, I just have to say.
You know what I mean? But that's exactly kind of what this is. It doesn't, even if there is a precedent for it that you could say that, it doesn't fucking matter. That's not the facts. That you can't just do that. Right?
That's some local news right there.
Right? I mean, now it's different if I come out and I say, I'm Tom Connors and I'm doing an editorial on the accident that happened yesterday. That's a completely different situation. Now, if I at least say that up front and I say, you know what, I think, and make sure I say, I think so-and-so was drinking because I know so-and-so, and every goddamn time I see so-and-so, they're walking down the street drunker than a skunk. That I can do, as long as I put all that other shit in front of it. Did you hear any of that shit in front of the stuff about Trump? No. But you got people running around, oh, he's a rapist, fucking, he's a convicted felon, he's this, he's that, he's all these other things. It's like, where's your proof of all this? He's never actually, civil cases and this and that and the other, sure. But like, again, we're digging deep into the weeds here, but I just brought you what was a pretty simple fucking example. And these guys have gone way deeper than that, is my point.
Indeed. Yeah. But let's move on here because we have...
please. Sorry. I got a little too into that. Anyhow. Hyperguyver 2 says, what I want to know is why is there a Mexican naval travel vessel in the U.S. waters? And what the hell are they training for us? The Spanish-American War? Actually, they were doing a celebration, I guess.
Well, it was a... Go ahead, Mike.
Well, so the boat is one of many boats that are leading up, that are from countries around the world that are leading up to the celebration of the the 250th anniversary next year. That's going to be celebrated. And so they were passing through here. So this ship was on a training voyage from Mexico to New York, on its way even further north, and then it was going to come back. But obviously didn't make it. They experienced some issues, and the NTSB is investigating it.
Yeah, it sounds... I still don't understand why they would even do that, knowing, like, it's just strange. And the fact that they're trying to blame this on Trump somehow is even stranger.
Yeah, that would be Schumer. And if I was ever more proud to not be a Democrat any longer, is listening to that moron.
What? Please, pray tell. What was his argument for why a boat was able to ram into that?
Okay, hold on. Let me be a radical.
Yeah, this is great.
Let me be a radical leftist lunatic because I know how to be one because I was one for 45 years. All right, so ready, Andre?
Go for it.
We need a full investigation of the Trump Doge cuts because Doge cuts clearly led to less safety and less, and these cuts is what probably created the Mexican ship running into the bridge. And we need a full investigation of Trump Doge cuts, and that investigation needs to happen now. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, I think I got it then. So basically, it's Doge cuts' fault because there's less education for trans people in Afghanistan. For that reason, the boat crashed into the bridge. Right. This reminds me of like when the day when
Trump... to know where the bridge is, Andre, if we haven't provided perfectly good education about what their gender roles are.
Yeah.
Exactly. My God, Andre, what kind of human are you?
Yeah, well, I'm the kind of human that remembers the day when you had like this helicopter crash and Trump instantly blamed DEI, and it turned out he was right. But I don't think that that's the case here.
If anything, it might be a DEI reason. Here's my question, and I'm not trying to make light of the situation because there was people that did pass, and that's a sad thing to happen.
Died.
At least 2 people, if not more, have died.
All right.
But here's my question, especially towards Mike. What? Why do the Mexicans always got to do shit like that? You should have known that was way, 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 way too fucking high.
Bro,
they got to double, triple, do everything.
Okay.
Twice as big as everybody else.
In defense of my people, Tom, Paulie, I got this one. Tom, in defense of my people, you have no idea what decades and decades, if not hundreds of years, have you ever tried to hit a piñata blindfolded with a stick? It has deep, long-lasting impacts. How are they going to know where?
You don't need the sales that high, Mike.
You don't know that. You don't know how high that piñata is going to fly.
This is correct. We're really good at sprinting and jumping, not necessarily staying on high levels that high for a long amount of time.
Right. I mean, the guys who invented the airplane were the Wright brothers, not the Lopez brothers. You know what I'm saying?
It just did seem like excessively tall for those sales. Like in all honesty,
well, it was part of a show, right?
I guess so. Yeah.
And by the time it was, it was a whole presentation that people were watching, but by the time it was even going towards the Brooklyn Bridge, it already malfunctioned. They were screwed.
Right, there was no turning at that point. I get that,
Yeah.
but like somebody should have known that there was no way that boat was going to clear that bridge. Like that just seems like something that, because we don't normally have these problems because people know, like to me it feels like there was a miscommunication somewheres, if that makes sense. And I'm not going to speculate any farther than that because it is a tragedy and it is sad that this had to happen the way it did. And hopefully we'll have some answers before too long. And for the families that lost loved ones, our thoughts and prayers are with them. But yeah, it's just a strange incident to have happen.
Yep.
Very strange. Pack and Proton says, I've always been under the impression that the Biden plan was to get him for at least one term when he dies and in comes President Cackler. Well, the other funny thing is everybody's asking, how did you not know that your husband had stage 5 cancer when you're a doctor? But that's just me. Anyhow, they were hiding this whole thing this whole time with him. Green Machine rant on the other side, and we had to change a few things here, just one thing, I guess, because it wouldn't post otherwise. Daryl Brewer says, it wasn't Daryl who actually sent the original, though, I don't think. It was, if I remember right, it was Kalekioki. Yes, it was Kalekioki who sent the original. Thank you, Kalekioki, for the Green Machine rant. It says, Pedro gets work because he will literally do anything the role asks of him. If a role asks him to take it in the butt or even give a blowjob, he will do it. He doesn't care.
Well, that's for the role. As long as his parents are alive, that would be for the role.
It seems with this new administration, there's a bit of quiet pushback. Men in Hollywood aren't just willing to take any role anymore, especially one that is emasculating. I mean, look, if you're an actor, like I even think that shit that, I'll be honest with you, I even think the shit that Terrence Howard said was pretty stupid. About, if I had to kiss another man, I'd rip my lips off. It's like, you can feel that fucking way, but then maybe you shouldn't be a fucking actor.
I ain't kissing no other man.
Yeah, like, I'm sorry, like, dude, if you're that insecure in your sexuality, then you do not belong in acting because you're surrounded by gay people constantly.
Well, okay, and
which probably explains why he doesn't act so much anymore either. I'm just saying that, but
man, and then there's just actors that are like they won't do violence in their movies. They won't kiss another woman because they're married. Like everyone, these different stars have their reasons, right?
Yeah, and I'm not saying that should be a make it or break it thing because I agree. Like you should only be able to should go as far as you're comfortable with doing, right? But at the same time, like when it comes to acting, you should be able to be open and secure in yourself in that respect and know that you're playing a role. And if it bothers you that much, then maybe you should go get some therapy because it says more about you than it does anything else, I think. Right? Whether you're in the closet, whether you're being homophobic, whether you're whatever, like that's your problem to have to deal with, and you shouldn't be bringing that to work, right? That's not what it's about. If not, then just find movies that fit your narrative. You don't have to go out and say it like Terrence Howard did. That just ruined his career at that moment. There's nobody going to hire him now for anything. So, Dark King says with $2, odds that Trump versus CBS goes to Discovery stage. That's what they want to avoid. That's a big part of probably what they want to avoid, wouldn't you think, guys?
Probably. I think they really want to avoid that. They just want to make this thing go away and go through with the merger, and then do whatever is needed to make that happen.
Yeah. I love how people are coming at me in the chat. Look, I'll kiss a man acting. That's not a problem. You want to know why? Because I know I'm acting. But if the director goes, you need to give this dude a blowjob, I'll be like, this ain't no fucking porno, dude. Guess what? I'm done. I'm out. Peace. That's a totally different situation.
Hold on. There's levels of compensation that could change that view.
Yeah. Also,
you're talking money.
Yeah, and don't do movies in Europe, because you'll be asked to do that, and it's not money either. But hey, there'll be prestige, rewards.
Yeah.
Again, Scorsese comes to you, Tom, says, I want you to do a man love scene with Daniel Day-Lewis. What are you going to say?
Yeah, I'll do it with
Henry
Mike.
Cavill and add about fucking $10,000.
$10,000, that's it?
Maybe a few more than that, you're right.
Maybe like a couple mil.
I mean, on top of the already bit I'm getting paid, that's what I was talking about. So like,
well, yeah, he would be on top. You'd be a bottom.
No. Oh, fuck. Anyway, Dark King says odds that Trump. Oh, yeah, we already got this one. I don't think it will, because I think they're going to try and settle. I think that's why all these people are jumping ship at CBS, because they're pissed that CBS isn't going to fight this. I don't know if you guys have any different feelings than that. But Dark King says Scott Adams of Dilbert fame has announced that he has metastasized prostate cancer. Expects to die by summer. Fuck cancer. Yeah, cancer is a bitch.
Oh, that's horrible.
I have lost so many family members to cancer in the last couple of years. Andre can attest to that. It's just ridiculous. But yeah, I did not know this, but that's too bad. Chaos Sonic 1 says Riri's villains are Mystical, Hood, and possibly Mephisto. I'm not a fan of her, but she is supposed to fight tech villains and not magic villains. Yeah, that makes more sense, but, you know, Mephisto might actually bring some eyeballs to the table. That's what they're looking at. Because I've heard a lot of people go, why the fuck is Mephisto in this? You want to know why Mephisto is in this? Because when WandaVision come out, everybody asked, where's Mephisto?
Then and ever since.
And that's why. So they know that that's one thing that can hook you into watching this, is because, you know, not only is Mephisto in it, they did a pretty good job probably casting it. But he's probably not going to be in it much. Which is sad, too, because he could be set up for a big bad, and he's probably just going to get wasted. For those who may not remember, Sacha Baron Cohen is playing him. Pack and Proton says, worst name, Riri or Jar Jar? Riri. Riri by far.
I couldn't even watch. I watched like a few seconds of that trailer. Oh, God.
Well, and I still don't understand how nobody said, you do realize that Riri is like another term for retard, right? Like, at no point.
Is that why Paulie calls me that all the time?
Yes.
Oh.
But it's like a lovable term for it.
Right. Yeah. There you go.
No, it's actually not really meant to be nice. Rich in the Dungeon Crawler has been here for 13 months. Thank you for that. Pack and Proton says, isn't South Park JOB to insult everyone? Yes. It is their job. Jesus Davila doesn't say anything, but he just sent in $10. And he gifted a membership on top of it all. Look at that. Thank you, Jesus Davila. Casperius says, real busy editing. YouTube channel has some good Star Wars editing cuts too. The making the romance of the prequels less cringe. Oh, I wonder if they could do that. Although I know a lot of fan cuts are usually pretty good of those. Robert says, Paulie, you'd like one step ahead, just ask Mike.
What the hell is that?
I have no idea.
One step ahead. What's one step ahead, Mike?
I don't know if I know the answer to that question. What is that?
Yeah.
Oh,
no.
wait a minute. The noir film I saw last week in Houston. I'm blanking. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, what do you mean what it is? It's on Amazon. I watched on Amazon Prime, and He did it for like $10,000 in LA, and I swear to God, it looks like he spent at least a few $100,000 on it. It looks.
Who's this?
It's Robert James. He's acted. You know what he did? He did a lot like what Tom Conkle did. Like he wrote, starred, and acted in his own thing, but he did for like $10,000. It's good.
Check it out.
Yeah, it's good. It's on Amazon. Yeah, it's good. At least that's where I saw it. I think it's on Tubi or Tubi, whatever that other thing is. I don't have that.
There you go.
But yeah,
Yeah, Tubi.
I blinked out. Because I've been watching sci-fi on Apple Plus lately, so I thought it was sci-fi thing.
He's still got codes to put on his.
By the way,
digital
Apple
things that
Plus
I've been
is underrated. I'm watching another show on Apple Plus right now. Apple Plus is horrifically underrated. I'm liking what I'm seeing there.
Ultimate Metal Forever says, do you think Hollywood will start to make cheap movies again because the horror movies show they can be cheap and still good? I think there will be an effort made to make more of these $15 to $50 million features. I don't know if Paulie agrees with that or not, but the studios have to. And the less of a sure thing the superhero movies are and these sequels and rebootfuls are, the more they're going to have to do that. Now, for every time we have a Final Destination or something like that come out and do very well, that lets them, leans them more towards doing sequels. But you got to look at, we also had Minecraft and Sinners, two of the bigger films this year, are technically original films. Now, yes, Minecraft's based on another property, but it's not based on a movie, right? So that's what I'm getting at here. Is there's an incentive for the studios to look at that and go, okay, the people want to do see original stories. Now let's see what the things that work. And sadly, the thing that they got to do first is rebuild the movie star. There's a lot of actors and people that who they are. I mean, Pedro Pascal is a good example of somebody, who he is, but is he really a movie star? Is he somebody who can open a film?
No.
That's what I mean. There's not very many people like that. There's Jason Statham. That's about the only person I can say that can actually open a movie, guaranteed, hands down. And that's even modestly, right? So let's be real here. We don't have the Johnny Depps and the Bruce Willises and the Arnold Schwarzeneggers and the Clint Eastwoods and the John Waynes anymore. I can't even think. Even The Rock is probably one person that most people go, oh, he's like, no, he's not. Because when it comes to his solo films, he still is not consistent. So that's the number one thing they got to do is rebuild the movie star. And if I was them, that's the first thing I would concentrate on, besides the tariff shit, which is really not tariff shit. It's just worrying about making more movies in Hollywood and in America. That's what it's really about. But anyhow, Paulie, did you have anything to add or subtract from that?
Just going off what you're saying, Hollywood needs to start making great movies again. Whether they're the ones that can spend a couple of bucks. Cheap movies, they already do. They buy them. They're already made.
Right.
Okay. So they just need to be better at selecting the cheap made movies, right? All right. And to give you an example, Marissa Tomei and Rachel Ziegler have gone to Cannes to pitch a comedy movie. There's not funded. There's no money. It's a UK production company that announced it, looking to shop it around so it can sell territory. So what does that mean? It means the studios aren't making it. If it gets made, then a studio will look at it because, well, it's got Marissa Tomei. See, that has always been happening. That's why you're hearing the Jennifer Lawrence movie just got bought for what? 20 million, 30 million bucks. I don't know what. So Hollywood just needs to start making better big films again. Keep the budgets down on those movies like that. They're already doing that, like The Amateur and Accountant 2. But in regards to cheap movies, they just need to be better at buying them.
Yeah. Well, I just found out that, believe it or not, Angel actually purchases most of their movies. They don't really produce anything.
Yeah. It takes a lot of money to produce from scratch. No, they don't produce any of their films.
Yeah.
Which is fine because we talked about this earlier. That is a great example of a new kid at the table as far as distribution hub.
And then Go 141 says, Tom, Mexico has DEI too. Yeah, that's what I was kind of sort of making a joke about.
Yes, and is a DEI hire.
Last call with Troy Pacelli has been here for 26 freaking months. Holy cow. Pack and Proton sends in 5. Says, did Mikey rescue any Brazilian weathercasters from the Mexican training ship crash?
I know better than to mess with Brazilian chicks because when faced with danger in the water, Brazilian chicks versus shark, I'll take my chances with the sharks.
So basically, that's kind of like the Brazilian chicks then are the equivalent of like women being left alone with a bear rather than a man, right?
We'll choose the shark.
100%. Now, smoking hot American white chicks, give me those all day and night. I know how to handle those in the wild.
Pack of Protons then sends in another 5. Thank you so much. Very generous this morning. Says, would Tom be willing to do a romance scene with Cynthia Erivo? How much would it take? Did you say Cynthia Erivo? I don't know. Maybe. Depends on how. I don't know. Maybe. I'd have to think about it. Pack and Proton says, back to the Rock. Fraggle Rock reboot isn't horrible. Best we could have hoped for these days. Apple Plus. Yeah, it's on there. I was just gonna say.
Oh, there's a frag. Whoa! Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Soul Nightmare says new Predator Killer of Killers trailer. Yeah, I saw that just dropped. It's a Hulu one. So if you haven't seen that, check that out. I watched some of it. I don't know. It looks all right.
Yeah. And then we have a couple that, Tom, you probably don't see, but Dr. Longdongler sent a super sticker for everyone to please smash that like, and we do appreciate it. And Mark Field said for $4.99, to the cast of crazy characters and its wonderful audience, positive vibes to you all and a beautiful day.
Oh, so these were all the earlier ones, yeah.
Yeah, but I think this is the perfect one to round everything out with, because I do believe that we are fully caught up then, are we not?
I think so.
Indeed. So then I would like to say thanks to the panel for being here. Everyone, make sure to check out the panelists that bowed out in quiet in the middle of our earlier topics, ranging from Cultured Casino to Scribe Light to Chris Brawley of Bleeding Cool fame. Check out every single one of them. Paulie, you have a stream coming up. This stream redirects there. Anything else you want to plug?
Yeah, Mike's gonna come on. We're gonna talk. We're gonna break down that Pedro Pascal video. Got you, Mikey.
It's gonna be fun.
Come on over.
Yeah, Mike is going to be there. Anything
Mike
else?
needs a break. He's got to make a phone call and go yell at another client real quick.
Yeah, indeed. Well, it's fun to be Mike's client. You have to go and yell some at the IRS as well.
I'm trying.
But yeah. I know you are. And Tom, anything we need to be a plug other than to be on the standby for more videos to drop soon? And check out our video on Max and HBO Max naming change. That because the algorithm did not show that one a lot of love. So we're going to need you guys to watch it and like it and help share it.
I didn't even know you released one. I didn't get that notification. And I
watched. See, that's my point exactly. I mean, you watched almost all of it, and you didn't even get notification.
I didn't even know you released one. Let me
exactly.
Go look,
I think most people don't know that we released.
Are you talking about our HBO Max one?
Yes.
Oh, I even did the voice for that one. The cartoon bit. It's just strange because I didn't get to edit that one, sadly. But Pablo did a pretty good job on it, so kudos to Pablo on that one.
Yeah.
And that was it's a good video. It needs to get watched. Check it out, guys.
Indeed.
23 hours ago. Not in my feed, but I see it now.
Yeah. And later on tonight, I believe there should be Toxic Femininity. We're going to talk about, I believe, Pedro Pascal. They may talk about some other things like Diddy or who knows. But they're also going to be doing a mini tier list of Tom Cruise movies. So tune in for that.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
All right. And with that, it is time for... So, Tom, it's time to find it. Some koalas in the...
Koalas in the rain.